On the subject of royal families, the Sandringham Walkabout is an annual tradition where the royal family parade themselves in a very disciplined order, all well worked out in advance, as Rupert Bell was telling us, our royal correspondent for TalkTV. And people do get there early. They'd like to see it. It's always a great sight to see a good turnout of people supporting our royal family. But I've got to say, as a mad loyalist as I am, and I've had the privilege of being at Windsor Castle, at Buckingham Palace and Clarence House on a few number of occasions, there is absolutely no way in the middle of winter that I would be going up to Sandringham to be there for 4 a.m. to see the royal family. Now, that might have me sentenced to the Tower, but I want to understand a little bit about why and what it's like to do just that. So I'm very pleased to welcome Dan Chapman on this Boxing Day, not to Sandringham, but to TalkTV Towers. Dan, hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well. I can tell you're not on a camping site, you're not in a farm waiting for anyone. You look, I'm not sure where you are there. Very elegant backdrop.
I was going to say, unfortunately, just my kitchen today, but slightly warmer than Sandringham yesterday morning.
Right, now, come on. Is this the first time you've done this?
So no, it's actually, yesterday was our 10th term. So we started in 2011, obviously 2 years ago. So both me and my mother.
Right, now come on, you've got to tell me why. Well, first of all, what did you do? What time were you there and what do you do whilst you're waiting?
So we got there for, as you kind of alluded to earlier, 4 a.m. Though unfortunately we don't have kind of a big story of how, you know, we did a trek akin to the Three Wise Men. We live about 20 minutes away, so
okay,
20 minutes normally.
That restores some sense of sanity in this conversation. You've got a nice little trot to go over there. Let me ask you, are most people local?
Most are. Sometimes I know someone that travelled in from Portsmouth the night before, but stayed in a B&B, then stayed in a B&B last night, and then is going to go home today. You do get some stories of people kind of travelling hundreds of miles, but most of the time it is those people local to Norfolk. Also because we have a number of the US Air Force bases nearby, both in Norfolk and Lincolnshire. You do get quite a large American contingent as well. But as you asked before, what do you do when you wait? It's actually probably part of, I dare say, the magic of it, but what makes it special, because you get to see the same faces every year. You are queued up for a couple of hours beforehand, but everyone's in the same boat. Everyone's there because they want to.
Queued up for a couple of hours. They don't turn up at 6 a.m, Dan. You're there at 4 a.m. Are you actually in position at 4 a.m?
No, so we will be held outside the paddock, as you can see everyone walking through there. Right. And we're then let in after we go through a security check. Before then, it's just kind of everyone getting to know each other, sharing food, sharing some drinks, everything like that. So it really is kind of a real group atmosphere, and that's kind of what makes it part of the atmosphere. It's not just seeing the royals, but it's getting there. And for example, for us, I've got a younger brother, and when we started, Christmas morning, say, wasn't the special thing anymore, and was, as I say, only being 20 minutes away. We went and did that. That's now our tradition. When it comes to family at Christmas now, it's Christmas lunch, it's Christmas dinner. It's why I'm probably not going to be moving much today. That's the special part when it comes to family. So we were like, well, we've got nothing else necessarily to do. We're just down the road. We may take camping chairs, so we're not stood up for all of that time. You know, take blankets, take food.
Now, hang on, I mean, we're talking royal family here, Sandringham Estate, right? So you're let out of this holding pen, as you, I think, described it. It looks like there's about 300 or 400 of you. It might not be that many, but looking at the television, I'm not sure if however many it is. But this is the question, right? Yeah. Is it like a mad scramble? You know, because you all want to be at the front, don't you, that moment? So, or do you barge people out of the way? Do you get the barber jacket on and get the walking stick out and crash a few out of the way if they're ahead of you, pushing over the old lady who might be in front of you? Come on, what is it like? Because you look young and fit, you see.
Well, thank you very much. Unfortunately, I've never worn a barber jacket, I will say that. Never used a walking stick either. But it really isn't. It's because everyone's kind of got to know each other at that point. The security with the police, we're all searched before we get into the paddock, out of the holding pen. So it is orderly, for example, and it is a field. So if you're not careful, especially with the weather we've had, you don't want to be running. If nothing else, you will end up with mud all down the track.
What happens to the British behaviour where you say, look, after you?
There is that. It's, as I say, it's very orderly. It's such a huge. It doesn't necessarily look it in the videos, but the paddock in which the Royals then walk through is huge. People are allowed on both sides of the path, so there is enough space for everyone. You may get one or two people who arrive later on thinking that they can muscle in, and then you just loudly talk to the police officer station in front of you, saying, "Oh yeah, no, we've been here since 4 a.m." And then that British kind of, I'm going to make a point without necessarily making it. That then comes in useful, and you don't necessarily get a push.
What about the Americans? Come on, though. Those Americans from the bases, I bet they're a bit pushy. Get up there to the royal family, hey?
I don't think so. I think because they come from the base, there is that decorum as well. And it's really nice to see the various flags, because you get people around the world. Some people may be in London, say, for Christmas, they'll come up. Others, we do a roaring trade as well because of the B&Bs, local pubs having people.
It's good for the economy, isn't it? Okay, listen, I've been a bit flippant with you here, so I'm going to try and be sort of semi-serious, if you don't mind. It is Boxing Day. First of all, do they ever stop and talk to anyone, or is that on the way back?
On the way through, they will just walk to the church. They try and the royal team basically try and say, that's your time for photos. On the way back, they will stop and talk.
And Dan, has it happened to you, your mum?
Oh yeah, that's part of the magic, because we are always stood at the same spot for about at least the last 7 years. And even if they may not necessarily recognise you do get the same people there. The royals will, come over to you. It's basically, I remember the Princess Anne said a few years ago in an interview, no one likes to speak to an iPad. So it's all about just making sure you are in a position where if you want them to come over to you, don't have your phone, don't have your iPad like that, because they're just not going to stop.
Don't get me going. So many people. It is noticeable, actually, because you're all a very sensible crowd up there, is that no one's looking at everything through their phone. Yeah, I've been to these rock concerts, or not rock, things like Elton John farewell concerts. Everyone in front of me is looking at it through the eyes of the phone rather than enjoying the experience. Now, look, I suspect you are not just, and forgive my flippancy, I don't suspect you're just a Sandringham fan. Have you been to other things as well?
Yes. So we did, just in the last year, I did trooping. I was lucky through work to get tickets. Trooping of the colour.
Oh, okay.
So managed to get tickets to actually be in Horse Guards Parade for that, which meant that we were then the first down the mall for the big balcony and the fly past. Coming from Lincolnshire, Battle of Britain Memorial flights, always great to see that Lancaster, hear those Merlin engines going down the mall. And then also camped out for the coronation as well.
Where were you? For the coronation, where were you?
So we were towards the top of the mall, just on the road that connects up with Horse Guards Parade, because I knew I'd done various things before, royal weddings, various other things. So we knew that when it came to opening up the mall for the parade, for everyone to then go down for the balcony, they would be starting at the top, letting us through. But that was fantastic. I made friends with, there was a group of about 20 of us in the end when it actually came to the day.
Well, to be fair, I'll confess, we went down to the mall. Who have you, quick fire questions, who have you spoken to on this church parade at Sandringham? Royal family, I mean.
Looking, if I remember correctly, over the last 10 years, I spoke to everyone bar the late Queen, everyone else in that time, because they make time to stop, talk, receive flowers, everything like that.
You need to put the word in and ask for an MBE or an OBE just for 10 years service of watching them go to church.
What can I say? It gets me out of the house, and my dad is very territorial when it comes to the kitchen, about Christmas Day.
So he doesn't go?
Oh no, he doesn't. So he will stay at home.
Well, he should be in the Tower of London.
Well, he does. He cooks the dinner. He makes it possible so I can then do those 10 years.
I'm not sure about this. Listen, Dan, you've been a good sport. Thank you very much indeed. Camping out from 4 in the morning to see the royal family. That's Dan Chapman. I mean, I kind of like it. It's quintessentially British to do it, but it's interesting actually. If you have met the royal family in any circumstances, whether you've been shaking hands as they went past some official engagement, or maybe you've been lucky enough to go to a garden party. Lots of councillors get invited to garden parties and things like that. Let me know your thoughts. Did it change your views of the royal family?